Bicovery, a machine learning powered system that helps people with bipolar disorders. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. So I'm Alex, CEO of Bicovery. A few years ago, I've been visiting one of our partners in Israel, and he told me his wife is working in an Israeli clinic and responsible for stabilization of patients with the disorders, mental disorders, before they will be let go of the clinic care back to society. And recently, she has finished the stabilization of 6 months stabilization of 2 patients that by concilium will let go back to the world. And within the next 2 months, one of them killed himself and another tried to do this. And obviously it was a dramatic hit for her as a professional and a person, and we discussed how awesome it would be to have a tool that could monitor the state of these people when they're actually getting back off the clinic. This is the way how we come to the idea of Bicovery, and this is the reason why we're doing it now. We focused on bipolar because it is a pretty severe disease covering more than 160 million people worldwide, and it leads to a very high risk of a suicide, especially among youngsters, while every second of them will try to commit suicide before he turns 18. It also leads to a very high risk of losing working capability and would require pretty expensive treatment for from 10 years to a lifetime for certain patients. The 2 biggest problems with existing treatment is that frequency of gathering the data about the patient's state and a lot of subjectiveness while analyzing this data. So what we do is we analyze how the person behaves, not what he says about his state. And to do this, we analyze more than 23 different parameters of physical and social behavior to determine the patient's behavioral pattern and identify the anomalies and changes to this pattern that may be consequences of maniacal or depressive disorder. To update the person himself, his caregivers and the doctors, and provide telehealth option, optimize expenses, and increase overall the life quality of the patient. For the doctors, we enable the ability to serve more patients within wider areas and validate the drug effectiveness and also visualize the behavioral patterns. We plan to penetrate Eastern Europe, UK, and DACH region markets within the B2C and B2B2C models and enable also the charity and paid forward features for those who want to help bipolar people. With a further expansion to Israel and US, adding the B2B and B2G models and covering other disorders like schizophrenia, anxiety disorder, and borderline disorder. Most of medtech startups has pretty challenging way to the market because of the medical trials. It also valid for us too, as it will require for us from 8 to 12 months working with more than 60 patients and up to 12 doctors, and it will cost us from 40 to 100K depending on the citizenship of the participants and on a chosen protocol. So to avoid this timeline gap, we want to start the market penetration in as-is format with a very explicit EULA and liability limitation, but in parallel launch the formal trials that will allow us at the end of 2021 to apply for a certification and then to relaunch the sales campaign as a medical monitoring tool. We really believe in the potential of this market, while even expecting the high rejection rate because of the high price, because of the nature of the service and nature of the audience. Still, we see the opportunity to generate around 70 million euros annually just from German-speaking countries only, and even more while expanding worldwide. We feel pretty comfortable in terms of competition, and we see this market emerge in Europe, where we plan to start. We all come in from technology company combining more than 47 years of software development and management experience with a group of the doctors who actually treat bipolars, with a great engineering team, with marketing people and great advisors. We was very warmly welcomed through this year with the European and Ukrainian startup community and media, and we received a lot of feedback and support that helped us finish the alpha testing with 20 people, and right now we plan the beta pre-trials with the 50 bipolars this quarter and start the market penetration beginning of 2021. We're still spending the leftovers of our internal funding, but we have already secured 150K with the private and corporate investment and grants, and received a commitment for 200K more. We're still looking for 100,000 more of private investment and look for help with the penetration of UK and DACH regions. I really believe that with your support, we can help give these people help they really need, especially during these interesting times.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So we have one question already from the online judges. Sure. So, much more than one, I'm sorry. So will insurance cover any of the cost of the device?
So we're not using proprietary devices. We're using the market-ready public devices like Google Fit and etc. The insurance is different based on every market. So for example, in US, the coverage for bipolar is up to 60% by insurance company. In Europe, it's more up to 100%, but it really depends on what is the structure of the cost, if I understood the question right. So the cost of our service, yes, it will include the device for people who don't have it, yes.
Okay.
Why do you attend such competition as IT Live Arena?
Well, what?
Why do you attend such a competition as this one?
Well, because I think that's important. Every medtech startup is complex.
You need just money or marketing. How are you gonna use this?
We need a market. I mean, we need a market penetration. We want to validate few market penetration strategies. Money wouldn't be the problem because we definitely see the opportunity. We just need to validate.
And why you?
We know how, and we want to do this. Sure.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the biggest uncertainty for this business? How will you manage that uncertainty?
The biggest
The
uncertainty?
biggest uncertainty, yes.
So that's actual those assumptions and few market fit kind of theories. We have 4 models of market penetration in terms of the pricing, structure of the selling, and etc. Plus the big variety of the models like B2C and B2B. Like we have been receiving advisory that with this product, we shouldn't approach the B2C market while targeting the B2B market at first. But we want to do this in parallel while spending a bit more in more assumptions in the same time. But the biggest challenge is actually to finalize those market fit strategy, because we definitely understand this is a need and there are people who need it. It's just a question how to package it right. So this is the biggest risk because it will require more retesting.
So I think that's a good question, although out of order. So do you have any traction or revenue at this point of time?
No, we are pre-market, so we finished alpha. We're preparing for beta pre-trials, so we plan to penetrate the market beginning of 2021.
And another question from online, and I'm gonna go back to offline. How can you make it 100% preventable to be held liable if your business gets sued?
Sure, yeah, because of the explicit liability. We're not invasive, so we're not a tool. We don't do diagnosis ourselves. We work with the patients who already has a diagnosis, and we don't do the direct changes of the treatment. We can advise you to visit your doctor, like the bipolar person, to visit the doctor, not to change the drug or whatever. So meaning the invasiveness level is very low. We are monitoring tool and alert tool. So the liability level is, like the factual liability level is pretty low. And we just need to express it with the legal language. And EULA, yeah.
We have 5 seconds, so I think we may not hit the timeline. I'm sorry for this.
I will be happy to answer.
Yeah, and we had a bunch of other questions that we did not answer, but feel free to connect with the judges after the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you.